we're hosting this event about estate planning with Miss Anne and Attorney Lorna. I just want to thank everyone for taking the time out of their, what's today, Friday night to sit in with us. So thank you. And let me introduce you to our first speaker, Anne Panganiban. She's a licensed financial consultant based in California, former researcher for Chevron. She provides guidance for long-term future planning, such as retirement arrangements and investment, recommending products and services to meet sustainability goals of a client. So, Anne, you ready?
Yes. Hold on.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay, for your kind words. ChatGPT, just kidding. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Anne Panganiban, and I just wanted to start this evening by sharing this quote. Someone once said, "Don't waste your time living someone else's life. Your time is valuable. Avoid being bound by dogma, which entails accepting the conclusions of other people's perspectives. And by knowing these people who are knowledgeable about personal finance are wealthier." And this is our topic for tonight: securing tomorrow, estate planning made easy. So, one, two, how many people? 11, 12 people. So 12 people, did you know, all of you, that 79% of Americans feel financial stress? More of them have lived paycheck to paycheck. And it's very ironic that we live in one of the wealthiest countries in the world, but we always have money problems. Why is that? Right? We can work hard all our lives, but still retire poor. We do so much to raise our kids just to see them finish college with a lot of debt, and that comes a way of life. With that said, I want you all to meet our second speaker, Miss Attorney Lorna Garcia. Okay. Lorna is a native Bay Area resident, having received her Juris Doctor degree from Golden Gate University School of Law in 2005. So prior to founding Garcia and Sammy LLP, Lorna was a senior litigation attorney for a well-known defense litigation firm, representing self-insured employers, third-party administrators, and corporations in all aspects of workers' compensation. She has an intimate understanding of legal industry and has developed a strong professional network throughout her career. So before I hand over to the floor to Attorney Lorna, can everyone please mute yourselves, open your camera, and if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat, and then we can answer all the questions at the end. Go, Attorney.
All right. Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jay, for having us here. And thank you to everybody on here that's taking time out of their, I know it's a holiday weekend. And I promise you that you will leave here. And I talk fast. Okay, so I'm going to get you out of here fairly quickly. You don't have to spend too much time with me, but I promise that you'll leave here feeling like you haven't wasted your time. You are going to learn some very valuable information, not only for yourselves, but for your friends and family. Okay, again, my name is Attorney Lorna Garcia. I'm the first half of Garcia and Sani. I run a firm here in California, but we actually cover all 50 states. So even if you don't live here in California, or if you have friends and family outside of California, we're going to be able to help them. Okay. And so let's get started. Today, we're talking about estate planning. Like Anne said, she was talking about how our country, even though it's one of the wealthiest, but there's a lot of debt. Okay. So if that's one of your problems, go back to Anne. Okay, go back to whoever invited you, go back to Jay, because they can help you with that issue. Okay, what my issue I'm here to solve is when you're no longer here, what is going to happen with all that money? What's going to happen with all that stuff? Okay, and what's going to happen with you and the ones that you love? Okay, because the purpose of estate planning is so that You can say what happens to yourself. We all work really hard. I know. Okay. I'm always working. And sometimes I don't stop and think, I say, well, what if I'm not here? Okay, who's going to take care of my family? Who's going to take care of me? And what about all this stuff I work so hard for? It's going to go to my kids, right? Or my spouse? Not necessarily, but I'm here to make sure that that does happen, that you're taken care of, that your kids are taken care of. Okay? Everybody over the age of 18 needs an estate plan. 100%. 100% of everyone over the age of 18 needs an estate plan. But guess how many of us actually have one? Okay. Between 15 to 20%. Okay. Let's take the worst case scenario. If only 15% of us, let's say 20%, 15 to 20, that means that 80% or 85% of the country, or maybe 85% of the people on here, 85% of everybody that you know and love is not properly prepared in regards to estate planning. Okay. That means that you're not the only one if you haven't already prepared, but it also means that our work is not going to be done, and we're far from it being done, because we want to make sure that we want to take care of ourselves first, and we want to make sure our family and friends are taken care of, right? Because that's part of this speak today. Right? We want to make sure that not only are you not wasting time today, right? You're not wasting that hour with me today, but you're going to use that information to take care of yourselves, and you're going to use that information to spread and take care of everyone around you. Okay. I've talked to Anne quite a bit this week, right? Because we were preparing for this presentation, as well as Jay. But even if we talked every day, let's say Jay and Ann called me every day and they said, you know what, Attorney Lorna, this estate planning is amazing. I want to do it for my family, right? And this is what I want to be done. And they told me the exact same thing every day for 365 days. Until it's put down on paper, it's just a wish. Okay. So again, take the information, take care of yourselves. And the way that you're going to do that is you're going to actually create an estate plan. Yes, of course, I want you to do it with me, but you don't have to. Take the information and get it done. Okay. Now, when we think of the 15% of people that have an estate plan, who do we think it is? Okay, let's be completely honest. We think it's the rich and famous, the people that have millions of dollars, because, well, I only own one house. I don't have millions of dollars. I don't need a trust or an estate plan. I hear that all the time. Okay. That's not true. Like I said, 100% of people need an estate plan. And guess what? Every single person on this page died without a valid estate plan. They are part of the 85%. Okay, they're part of the 85%. Now, what I really want to focus on today is this middle article. The title is right there. After nearly 2 years, Chadwick Boseman's $2.3 million estate was split between his wife and parents. Okay, those of you that don't know who Chadwick Boseman is, he was the Black Panther. Okay, he died of cancer. He didn't realize, he knew he was sick, but nobody knew. Okay, he didn't share the news. He just kind of saw it one day on the news, right? And so what he did was he married his long-term girlfriend that you see in the picture. Now, if you think to yourself, why would you marry someone while you're on your deathbed? Right? Because he probably wanted her to get his stuff when he was no longer here. Okay. And so the first part of that title says, after nearly 2 years. And some of you might be thinking, wow, 2 years, that's a long time. It's actually not in the probate world. That's fast. Okay. The probate process takes at least, on average, 4 to 6 years. Okay. And during that 4 to 6 years, your assets are frozen. Okay, so those of you that don't know what probate is, it's when we pass away here in the United States, if you don't have the right paperwork, a judge has to transfer everything from you to your loved ones. That's probate. Okay, it takes 4 to 6 years. And during that process, everything is frozen, like I said. And here, the next part of the sentence, it says $2.3 million was split between his wife and parents. That means his wife got 1.15 million and his parents got 1.15 million. Okay. What you don't see here, though, is what people don't tell you, or the news, is how much was paid back to probate. Okay. Because someone's got to pay the judges. Somebody's got to pay the attorneys, those darn attorneys, right? And guess how much they paid? 1.5 million. Okay. That's over a third of his estate. The attorneys and the probate court got more than his wife did. There's no way that should be fair, right? But that's how the process is. So what we want to do is we want to avoid probate court altogether. Okay? And that's why we're here. We want to make sure that you avoid probate court. And the way you're going to do that is with an estate plan. Okay. When you go to probate court, like I said, it takes at least 2 years, averages 4 to 6. Everything is frozen. If your children or your loved ones don't have access to your bank accounts for 4 to 6 years, will they be able to afford your home? Probably not, right? That's why we always see estate sales. People have to sell the property. They can't afford it. Okay. And then it's expensive. Time is money, right? Nobody works for free. The courts, just the courts, it's going to cost an average of 10% of the value of your estate. Okay. I have my, everyone paid their taxes this year, I'm hoping. So I just filed my taxes, and I always tell my accountant every single year, it never fails. I say, I don't want to pay $1 over what I have to pay. Do what you need to do. Okay. And so here I'm telling you, not only do you have to pay $1 over what you don't have to pay, you're paying 10%. Okay. And that's just the average. It's not a cap. And the last slide we saw was over a third. So how many of you can use the emojis or the, the little action items. How many of you want to pay 10% to 1/3 of your estate back to probate courts? Jay, I thought you were going to put a thumbs up. All right. So, yeah, thumbs down. Thank you, Anne. So nobody wants to pay that. And if I told you all you have to do is file some paperwork to avoid that, pretty sure you're going to want to do that. Okay. And if your family goes to probate court, the judge is going to decide how everything's divided, not you. Okay. I can almost guarantee you will never have met the probate court judge that's going to handle your case, which means it's going to be a complete stranger. Okay, so ask yourself, for all of the stuff that you work so hard for your children, for their guardians, do you want a complete stranger to decide that, or do you want to decide? Okay, it's going to be you. You're the best person to decide. In addition to all of this, you guys, the courts are changing. There's a lot of tax laws out there that are changing. There is a possibility that you will pay another 40%. Okay. And in the next couple of years, that possibility increases of how many people have to pay an additional 40%. So not only are you paying is your family paying the 10% in probate, they're paying an additional 40% in taxes. That's half of your estate. There is absolutely no reason why you have to give up half of your estate because of lack of filing paperwork. Okay, so we want to make sure that's why you're here today. That's why it's so important to take this information and to do something about it. Okay, I've been talking about estate planning the last 10 minutes. What is an estate plan? Okay, an estate plan is different for everybody. Anne's is going to be different from Jay's, Evelyn. Yours is going to be different from mine because all of our situations are different. Okay, but for the most part, every single estate plan is usually going to include these 5 documents here. Okay, I call them the core documents. You've probably heard all of these terms before, but now you're going to know how they work together. Okay. My goal after all of these presentations is that you go out and you're an expert now. And you're comfortable about talking about estate planning. Okay, so from the bottom, HIPAA release. This is a document that you sign and you're going to list whoever you want to have access to your medical information. So whatever hospital you're at, whatever doctor you're in front of, whoever you list on there can say, hey, can call and say, hey, what's going on with Lorna? Or, hey, what's going on with Anne? Okay, and they can get that information. Because, that's protected information, right? But we have our friends and family that we're okay with sharing that. And we want to list them on our HIPAA. Okay. The Advanced Medical Directive, it's also known as the medical power of attorney. Most of us don't go from alive to dead overnight. Okay. We get sick, we get old. Sometimes there's an accident, right? And during that decline, sometimes we become what's called incapacitated. Okay. We can't make our own decisions for ourselves. This document, this Advanced Medical Directive, is going to allow you to designate who's going to make decisions on your behalf if you become incapacitated. So who's going to make your medical decisions? Okay, simple enough. The next document is the durable power of attorney. Same idea. If you become incapacitated, who's going to make your decisions for you? But this is going to be for your finances as opposed to your medical. And why do they do that? Why do we split it up? It's because you might have family members that are really good at with medical decisions, but other ones that are better with money matters. Okay. So you can designate different people. You don't have to, but you have the option. Okay. Some of you are thinking, well, I'm married or I have an adult child. If I become incapacitated, they'll just do that for me. Okay. They cannot automatically do that for you. I don't care if you're married. I don't care if your adult child is there. They cannot automatically make decisions for you. Your family would have to go to court first. You're going to pay an attorney on an hourly basis. The average is about 12 to 15,000. Okay. And then they can make decisions for you. It takes about 4 to 6 months. But with having these powers of attorney in place, they can do it instantaneously. No need for court, no need to pay an attorney. They can just step in your shoes and make decisions on your behalf. That sounds great, right? Now, these 3 documents are good while you're still alive. Those of you that have maybe life insurance plans in place, maybe you have, some type of long-term care. Okay, so if you get sick, you can pull money out of this policy. If you don't have one of those, very, very important, go back to Ann, go back to Jay, okay? They're going to help you with that. But if you have this amazing type of product where you can access money if you get sick or you need it, guess what? If you're incapacitated, you cannot access it. Okay, so what good is having that benefit if you can't access it? This is why a power of attorney is so important, because you want to be able to access it and you want your family to access that money for you if you cannot. Okay, so these 3 documents are good while you're still alive. When you're no longer here, they expire. Okay, because when you're no longer here, nobody has to make decisions on your behalf anymore. Okay, then the will and the trust come into play. You've all heard of a will, right? Okay, and you've all heard of a trust, correct? Okay, you're going to know the difference today between the 2 documents. Most people don't. Okay, I had an 89-year-old woman call me the other day and she says, "Oh, Attorney Lorna, I think I'm okay. Everything is good. I just want to make sure I have everything in place so my family doesn't go to probate." Guess what? She wasn't, because this is why. The will and the trust are very similar. Okay, they both list who's the beneficiary, who's in charge. In the will, the person in charge is called executor. Okay, in the trust, the person in charge is called the trustee. But the job is the same. Okay, same beneficiaries, same people in charge. Here's the problem. The will, a lot of people have a will, okay, because you can download a will on the internet for $99. And it's free, right? You can maybe get it for free. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm just going to do that and to save some money." Okay, but the problem with the will, if you don't remember anything at all tonight, this is the one thing I want you to remember. Okay, because this will make the difference. A will by itself is not going to avoid probate. Okay, so that 89-year-old lady, all she had was a will. So I had to tell her, "I'm so sorry, you're not going to avoid probate. We need to get you a trust." Okay, because the trust is the only document that's going to avoid probate. Okay, not only does the trust avoid probate, it's also going to allow you to say, "Hey, beneficiaries, here's my money, but I want you to spend it a certain way. I don't want you to get it all at once. I'm going to stagger it out. Or I want you to use it to buy a house." Okay, those of you that maybe have life insurance policy or large 401ks or large IRAs in place, and you don't want to, I have a 22-year-old son. Okay, there's no way I'm going to give him all this money at once. He's 22. You're not, right? It's not fully formed. But in my trust, I'm going to be able to say, "Okay, you can have it, but you're going to pay off college first." Okay, and then you're going to use the next 100,000 to buy a house. Okay, and then once you fulfill all these steps, then you can do whatever you want. Then he can go to Vegas. Okay, so that's what the trust is for. So sorry. The reason we need a will, though, okay, this is why the will is important. 2 reasons. Number 1, if you have a minor child, that's where you're going to designate the guardian of your children. Okay, that can't be done through the trust, only through the will. The second reason, because some of you might not have minor children, but the second reason applies to everybody. So let's say, Jay, I created your trust. Everything is in there already, right? You sleep well every night. And then next week, you go to Vegas. Okay, you go to Vegas and you hit the jackpot. Okay, but you're so excited about it that you forget to call Attorney Lorna and say, hey, Attorney Lorna, I got to put these winnings in my trust. Okay, and you're outspending it. And then when you pass away, that money is no longer in the trust. It's not in the trust, but it's still there. Okay, let's say you have $1 million left. The will is important because it's going to have language that says, even though Jay didn't put this extra $1 million in his trust, he still wants it to be distributed the same way. Okay, so the will is going to be your safety net. Okay, it's a catch-all. That's why they sometimes call it the pour over will. Okay, because it's going to pour over back into your trust. All right, you guys are going to go out there, you're going to be experts on this. All right, now I'm almost done. So those are the documents. You know the disadvantages of not having an estate plan. Even after all that, I still get the question, well, Attorney Lorna, I only have one child. I only have 2 children. It's going to go to them anyway, right? That's what the law says? Correct. 100%. The law is set up so that it goes to your spouse. It goes to your children. But that doesn't mean they don't have to go through probate. Okay. And so what I did was I set up a scenario for you of a really good friend of mine. This is his family. They did not get an estate plan, but I did kind of a side-by-side comparison of the difference estate plan is going to make. So in May of 2021, my friend's 43-year-old sister passed away. Okay. Suddenly, single mother of 5, aged 4 to 22. Okay. Homeowner, and she had a life insurance plan. She listed all of her children. For those of you that have your minor children as a beneficiary, do not take them off. Take them off because a minor cannot legally own money. Okay. We can still leave money for that minor, but it has to be done through a trust. Okay. If you list a minor, it's automatically going to go through probate. Now, later that year, my friend's mother passed. Okay. Of COVID, she was married. She was a homeowner. She had a life insurance plan. Like most of us are married, you list your spouse. Okay. Look at this. Not even a year later, his dad passed away. Okay. He was this widowed at the time, obviously, homeowner as well. And he had a life insurance plan. He listed his wife. And no, he didn't update it. Okay. Because how many times do we have that piece of paper or that envelope or that letter that we're supposed to send out and it's on our desk and we say, okay, we'll send that out. I'll fill it out later. And it just doesn't get done. Okay. I'm not judging. The same thing happens to me. Okay. And it didn't get done here. Now, for the sister, on the left side, you're going to see how much it costs with no estate plan. On the right, with. Okay, on the left side, no guardians designated because there's no will, so they have to go to court. Okay, even if the other parent is still alive, you still have to go to court to get a guardianship. Okay, for any money. The courts are going to monitor those accounts until the children are 18. And then probate court's needed. Okay. And what I want you to think about is this is only 10% of the house. Okay. We're not even taking into account the bank accounts, the cars, any other asset. This is the bare minimum. So for this, without an estate plan, it's going to cost the family over $108,000. Whereas if she had an estate plan, guardian is named in the will, she can say what the money should be used for. Probate court's no longer needed. Okay. The family just needs to go to the county recorder. Maybe it'll cost $300. Okay, so ask yourselves which side you would choose. Now, for the mother, even though her husband was still alive, so those of you that are married, I know you have your joint accounts with your spouses, but sometimes we like to have our own separate accounts too. Okay, I tell my husband it's how I buy his gifts, so he doesn't find out, right? So I have my separate account. When I pass away, that doesn't automatically transfer to my spouse. Okay, here if you do have that, it has to go through probate. Again, you're training an attorney on an hourly basis. Okay. Now, the life insurance, yes, pays to her husband. Okay. It didn't happen here, but there is occasion where, let's say it did pay to her husband and her husband remarried. Okay. Nobody wants to think about it, but if your spouse remarries, there's nothing saying that the new spouse can't spend all your life insurance money. Okay. But with an estate plan, that's going to transfer automatically. And you can put language that says, hey, husband, if you remarry, that money is going directly to our children. Okay. Again, so take a look at the 2 columns. Which side would you choose? Okay. Now, for the father, the last one, because he didn't update the beneficiary, going through probate. Okay, it's a $500,000 policy, 10% is 50, the house, 10% again, over 180, okay? With an estate plan, no probates needed, gonna transfer to the kids. You can say what the kids should use it for, and then they just go to the county. Now, take a look at this, you guys. Same result, okay? If I told you same result, but without an estate plan, it's going to cost over $300,000 and it's going to take 4 to 6 years. Okay. Versus if you have an estate plan in place, it'll maybe be 600 out of pocket, plus the cost of your estate plan, and everything's transferring in 30 to 45 days. Okay. Which one would you choose? Now, that is the importance of an estate plan. Same result, you guys, but that's how much of a difference it makes. And what I like to point out is look how much I would have made if I told you not to get an estate plan. Okay, so obviously we're not in it for that portion of it. We want to make sure everyone that invited you to this call today wants to make sure that not only are you financially prepared, but that your family is going to be prepared to take care of all of these life events that will eventually happen. Okay, now, thank you again for attending. I know there's going to be some question and answer, but by attending today, we did work out a deal with Jay and Ann to provide you with a free 30-minute consultation with our office. Okay, the value of that's a little over $400. So I would definitely take advantage of that. Even if it's just to sit down and see what your options are, feel free to contact whoever invited you today, and they will set you up with one of our attorneys for a consultation. Okay. And so I will send it back to Ann.
All right. Thank you again, Miss Attorney Lorna.
You're welcome.
My notes, it's a lot. That's one of my homework for tonight. Is everyone good? Jay, do you have any question or anyone?
We can
Or is
open
yeah.
question, yeah, and then people can put on the chat if they're shy or if you wanna raise your hand. But my question on because I have clients that they don't even know that their company, they work like a W-2. Their company actually pays for their estate plan. I don't know if you have clients also that you help via their company attorney.
We do. So we take different legal insurances. The ones that we currently accept is ARAG, ARAG, and Hyatt MetLife. So we do help through the company as well. And even if we're not on the insurance plan, I've gotten requests to fill out approval for out-of-network attorneys, and then they'll reimburse us that way.
Oh, okay. So that's good. Like check with especially if you're a W-2 employee, check with your company if that's something that they offer, because it's free anyway, so you might as well use it.
Absolutely. And then another thing on that note, Jay, I'm so sorry. We also have, if you're not a W-2 and you're a business owner, we want to make sure that you also have a plan in place to make sure that if something happens to you, your business can continue and your family can continue to collect your income, right? Without an estate plan in place, your business is going to go into probate. And unfortunately, everything's frozen. Your employees don't get paid. I've seen it. I've seen companies where the clients or the employees have to work for free, and then they ask for EDD until they're able to get reimbursed.
Talking about what do you call this for businesses, for the estate plan, I know you said it goes from 2,600 to like $6,000. Is it based on the assets or is it based on how complicated the instructions of the trusts are?
It's going to be both. Obviously, the more straightforward it is, it's going to be cheaper. The number of assets itself is not necessarily determine the price, but the number of real estate properties does increase the price as well, because we do take care of, preparing the paperwork to transfer the property into the trust.
So let's say, I know you said numbers. Does it matter also the price? Like, let's say a property in South Bay or in the peninsula is typically higher than East Bay property. So would that make a difference also on what?
It'll only make a difference if the net worth of the individual is over the $13 million mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if it's like an $800,000 house in the East Bay versus a $1.4 million house in the peninsula, that's not going to make a difference. But if you have a $20 million house in the Oakland Hills, it's going to be a different type of plan.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Makes sense. Okay. I know Miss Evelyn had a question earlier. If you want to unmute or if you want to type it on the chat, I can also read it for you.
Sorry, ano yung question?
Kung may advertising sa bahay, in-open the title. Yun ba yun? Pwede ba yun?
Apat kayong nasa, sorry, give me 1 second. I'm trying to.
Four people at the title.
I think,
What was supposed to be? Kasi matanda na sila.
my aunt's wondering if it's better to just remove the parents from the title of the house, or would that be like a shortcut? It sounds like it.
So Evelyn, that would be a bad. I have a lot of clients that have done that without asking me. And it's typically a bad move because of the fact that you lose a step-up basis and you lose control of the property. So for example, I'll give you an example. So let's say when mom and dad bought the house, they bought it at $50,000. Okay. And then I'll give you the scenario of if they transfer it while they're still alive. So they bought it for 50,000, they transfer it to their children. And then when they're no longer here, the children sell it for 1,050,000. Okay. In that case, because it was transferred while they were still alive, the kids are going to pay capital gains taxes, which is 40% on $1 million. It's a lot of money. Okay. It's 400,000. Now, let's flip the scenario where, let's say instead of giving it to them while they're still alive, rather through the trust. Okay. Let's say parents bought it 50,000 and then they left in a trust. They said, well, we want to leave it to our children. Okay. And then when the parents pass away, let's say it's worth $1 million at that time. Okay. And then the kids sell it for the same 1,050,000. Because it was transferred through the trust after their death, they're only going to pay capital gains tax on the difference between 1 million and 1 million. So they're only paying 40% of $50,000 versus 40% of $1 million. Okay. And so that's the downside of transferring it while they're still alive versus through the trust.
Okay, just so I understand that correctly, the biggest difference would be the amount of taxes that you will pay versus not setting up a trust. You're paying more.
Because
That sums it up.
yeah, because it's just like a real estate question, because now you have to pay gains on the new, it's gonna get appraised once they transfer the title. So let's say you took out your grandparents right today, they bought the house at 200. You're gonna have to pay gains on that difference instead of
Sure.
if they passed away,
Nobody wants to be
then your
married.
new price would be, what do you call this? Your new price would be the new appraised value at that day.
Okay, we're gonna.
Yeah, got it.
Sorry.
Make it clear.
Yeah. And then another thing, Evelyn, is the moment they transfer it to the children, they lose all control at that point. So, they probably won't change their mind, but if the kids start acting up or whatnot, they can't go back and take it back.
What happens if my name, there's 4 other names on the title? So my mom, my dad, and my sisters.
Okay, so if you wanted to do a trust, then you would only transfer your share.
No, what are we supposed to do?
Can we do a quick plan?
No, that's for mom and decide on how they want their share to be divided. Does that sound correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So basically, there's no removing their names, right? There's no removing.
You
my
can,
names.
but that removing their names would just end up in them with or end up with the sisters basically paying more taxes that they can already avoid. They just set up a proper will and trust.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
That's correct. That is correct. And you don't want to, I mean, if you want to pay Uncle Sam, you can, but I don't think that's the goal, right?
Nobody wants to pay Uncle Sam.
Nobody,
Any
not
more
even
than we
me.
ever have to. Yeah.
I would just get the will.
Did you guys have another question? Okay. That was a good question.
You guys have another question?
It's very much this.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a question for mine. I'm Bernice. I have a minor, and you said that the best way to do that is to have a person in charge of a minor that has to be set up in paper as well.
Yeah, that'll be in your will.
Okay.
So how many days will it take if you want it? Okay, like how many days we're gonna get them to do that? That's really with this.
The process, how long will it take?
How many days?
How long the process will take? Oh, one more question is how long the process will take from, I guess, when we start planning to do the will and trust.
It usually takes about, my current processing time is 1 to 2 weeks.
Oh, that's fairly quick.
Yeah.
And then what paperwork do you guys need? Do you guys need the title of the house?
No, so
No.
we pull all of that. It's just a list of information that I would need. So once you're ready to, once you do the consult, we'll decide which package you want to do. I'll send you a list of info that we need, and then you'll send it back to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's fairly easy.
Yeah, it's okay. You make it sound easy. Thank you.
I try. That's the goal.
That's good. That's good. That's a compliment.
Yeah. Will you guys have your information up for me to screenshot? Just like email, basic
Can
emails, or
yeah, I can also, you can have Tita Evelyn reach out to me. I can do like a group text, and then maybe Miss Lorna can send her office
Yeah.
email.
Okay.
So we get discount just to make sure.
no, there's 30 minutes free consultation, and then from there we will, figure
Proceed.
out which planning you guys want to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then we have to play Lorna.
but she can also.
You have to write down all your questions, Tita. So
Yeah.
We're not
it's
gonna be
30 minutes.
blind.
You have to write down all your questions because it's time.
Of course. Thank you so much for you guys' time.
Of course.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Or Anne, I don't know if I know you took some notes. Do you have any questions?
I'm good, but all I know is I really have to set it up.
How
Really
about
have to do it.
Ryan or
And
Sheila, Sherry? Any questions, guys?
Marlo, Sherry, you good? Thank you for joining us.
I know Maia had a question. Do you have a question, Maia? But she has a property also in the Philippines. I don't know if you can advise on that, attorney. I think she had a question about putting together, but it's some are in the Philippines and then some are in the
Yeah.
States.
So what's interesting is the Philippines is one of the few countries that actually recognize US trusts.
Oh,
So yeah, because they don't do trusts in the Philippines, but they recognize the US trust. So we can definitely address the Philippine properties in the US trust.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not a lot of countries do it. The Philippines does though, luckily.
Yay!
do you have any other questions?
Yes.
Maria?
Hi, Lorna.
Hi,
Thanks for
Maya.
your presentation. It was really great. Very informative.
Good, I'm
Just a quick question for me and my husband. How will that trust work? So we don't have kids. I don't know if we'll have kids. So how will that work? Do we have to have separate trusts for each? Is it joint? Like, I don't know if that's a stupid question.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So typically when you're married, it's usually a joint trust, but it's not always that way. It really just depends on what it is that you two decide that you want to do. Now, you will have to identify who you want to leave your assets to, but depending on what you two want. So, for example, if the most straightforward way would be if one of you passes, everything goes to each other. Okay. And then after both of you are gone, you're going to pick 2 or 3 people and everything will just split equally between them. Okay. But I have had it where, let's say the wife says, well, if I pass away, I want everything that's mine and my share to go to my family immediately. And then my husband can do what he wants with his. So in that case, it's going to be, it's still a joint trust, but it'll have separate outcomes depending on who passes first.
Okay. And do you have some sort of package like that within your firm?
We do. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. Yay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so we can connect you. So I'll connect Miss Tita Evelyn and Ati Maia later after the call.
No problem.
Yeah. Jemmy, did you have any questions? Jemmy is actually in Southern California also.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have an office in Monrovia.
Oh, I'm not too familiar. My sister went there for school, but I'm a Bay Area kid.
All I know is it's by the Rose Bowl.
I just know Portos. That's it.
Oh, there you go.
I think I'm okay. I'm still in the process of, I just got married and, I haven't had kids yet. So if you make a trust at this point, you would just have to readdress it after you have kids, right? You have to addend it.
Not necessarily, Jemmy. So we can make it so that we can plan for if you do have kids, it should go to the kids. So we'll just put language like that. But if you don't, then it'll have a contingent, type of beneficiary in the event you don't have children. So we can definitely plan for it in your trust so that you
Good to
don't have
know.
to change it again later.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, just to piggyback on Jemmy's question, is it hard or is it expensive to edit or update your trust?
It's not hard. It is not it's not as expensive of when you do it initially, right? So let's say, for example, your trust, let's say you get a more complex trust and you pay 3,000, right? An edit is going to be about $150.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. At least you're
Yeah.
updated. Do your clients, do they update? What's the average? Like, I'm just curious, what's the average person? When do they update their trust? Do they just update it before they die, or do they upgrade it every 5 years? What's the?
They usually update it as their lives change. So I want to say the average person is going to update about 2 to 3 times. So it's usually when you create it, your children are young or you don't have children yet. And then you update it again when your children are like young adults, because then you know their personalities and you want to give them some rules, right? And then when they're older, then you might think, well, I don't care. We'll just give them the money. They're responsible enough. So then they update it again, right? So it really is based on the milestones. If you want to change.
Makes sense. Okay. Do you have any other questions, guys?
Hi, Attorney Lorna. I have a quick question.
Hi, Lilith.
So my grandmother has properties here in the US, different assets. So she has a trust. Does that mean she can include her properties in the Philippines for her trust here? Since you mentioned that Philippines recognizes US trust. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, that's good. They can update it and include. I don't think a lot of people know that. I didn't even know that myself. And we have a lot of clients in the Philippines, so that's interesting.
I only know because my own parents made me look it up. And so ever since then, I've known.
Okay. And are you able to do? Because I have clients that are, what do you call this? Investors. So Philippine citizenship, but they buy assets here in the US. are
Mhm.
they also able to do a plan like a trust and a will, even though they're not, immigrant or American citizen?
So yes, they can. And actually, in that case, Jay, I would recommend that they do it because of the fact that if you're a US citizen, remember when I was talking about that 40% tax?
Mhm.
They will actually hit that mark fairly quickly. So if they have a property here in the US, they're automatically I can guarantee you they're going to owe that 40% tax if they don't properly prepare. And
Because I
so
know
yeah. So even more so because they don't get that much of a tax benefit if you're not a citizen. And so even more so, I would recommend that they do an estate plan.
okay, makes sense. Because I know
Yeah,
they're already paying a lot of taxes if they sell.
exactly. Exactly. And
Okay.
then we also do what's called there's so many different types of trust, but I promised that we would finish early. But we can do like a deferred sales trust. Okay, for those that are investing in real estate property and they don't want to get hit with a lot of the taxes all at once. So
Oh, maybe that's a next seminar we're gonna do with the group.
yeah, there you go.
Okay, okay,
Thank you.
sounds good. All right. Any other questions, guys?
Everyone's
Well, if
so
you don't,
quiet.
yeah,
I think some of them are still hangover from last night.
this is July 4th. I know
There's a
I
lot of
was,
cops out there today.
but that was a lot of good information though. Even I myself, I've been in the business of real estate, what, 5 years now, and you still gave me a lot of things that, will help me out, and I learned a
Good.
lot of stuff on this call.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you.
Now we're experts.
Can I have one more question?
Yes.
How complicated is the process when you add your property in the Philippines to the existing US trust that you have?
It's just gonna depend on what the wishes are. It shouldn't be too complicated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and if you guys, think of something after the call, because we're kind of still processing everything, just reach out to whoever invited you, like reach out to me, reach out to Anne, and then we'll be sure to connect you with Attorney Lorna. So thank you again, Attorney Lorna. Thank you, Anne, for
Thank you,
for
Jay.
sharing your time Friday night. Thank you everyone for coming in. It's July 5th, and it's like a holiday weekend. So thank you all and appreciate you.
Thank you so much again, Attorney.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Guys.
everyone.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night. Good night. Good night.